A warm welcome, everyone. My name is Laura Lease, and I am on the Alpha Catholic team here at Alpha USA. You are joining us for our regularly scheduled program we call our Administrator Forum. So I kind of think of this like a little fireside chat. So the target audience are folks who are already up and running Alpha or are pretty sure you're going to run it and you just want to go a little deeper on any number of topics. However, that said, we do have people joining us who don't even know what Alpha is about. You are very welcome. We have people joining us from outside of the Catholic world. We love to have you. And even those outside of the U.S., you are all very welcome to be with us on this call today. So Suzanne will be leading us through the PowerPoint, and I'm going to have you, Suzanne, take us to the next slide. So, friends, the idea of these forums is for those folks who are leaders on Alpha at your location, parish, school, wherever you happen to be running it, or just in your home, which we love those too. So the idea is to empower and equip you to go deeper on any number of topics. And we'll go to the next slide about what some of those other topics have been over the last year and a half, and we will be adding to this as well. So these are what we call at Alpha the essential elements, the best practices. These are things you've got to have in order to have a great Alpha, or really any kind of great program, for sure, anything that's outreach-based. So these topics are included on our YouTube video list, our playlist in particular, that have this Alpha Administrator topic. So you can go back and listen to these, and we will be repeating these topics with new guest speakers in the coming months because these are so hot. So I'll read them to you. Some folks might be just on the call and not on the video. So guys, number one, of course, prayer. It undergirds all that we do. The idea that our leaders need to be good at listening, so we focus on that intentionally. How to evangelistically position Alpha. It's great for our people who are already coming, but it's really meant to reach those who are not part of our parish. Making sure we follow the curriculum. How do you follow the recipe that works for 30 years and, well, over 25 million people worldwide? So we want to work with what works. How do you train your team? So in-depth discussion about that. A really hot topic is always the weekend or day away. How do I make that better? And a ton of logistic questions, as I know you guys often have. And really, it's last on the list, but it's right there behind prayer for us. Radical hospitality. I love that. I mean, just that word radical just tells you how imperative that really is. So again, these are the kind of topics we tend to talk about on these webinars. If you have a topic in mind, we would love to hear from you. So here's my plug. After today's webinar, we will be sending you a copy of the follow-up email within the next 24 hours. It will be chock full of everything you ever needed resulting for this webinar. A copy of the recording, including our distinguished guest we're just about to introduce you to, a copy of the PowerPoint you're about to walk through with us, and all of the links that we are about to promise. Suzanne takes her furious notes and includes everything. However, you will possibly have other questions. We totally expect that. So please feel free to email us back. Email us at any time. Let us know how else we can serve and support you. That's why we are here. We at Alpha, the staff here at our national team, our local teams throughout the country, are here to support you in the local parish, the local organization, wherever you're serving people. We exist to support you. So with that plug, Suzanne, if you can take us to the next slide then. And so I'm so excited to introduce our guest. He will be unmuting now, Hector. So Hector Serrano comes to us from St. Mary Magdalene in South Carolina. If any of you were on our call last week, you might recall our guest, Bob, was also from this parish, and they were just so rocking. We just had to get them twice over. So it's amazing. And I just love, Hector, how you guys run Alpha in both English and Spanish, and you saw the questions. Fascinating questions to ask about how running Alpha in Spanish, does that help further integrate or separate the parish? Because this was always a hot question, right? I was fascinated by that question. So Hector, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how you guys decided to run Alpha in Spanish. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. My name is Hector Serrano, and I've been in a parishioner at St. Mary Magdalene for about going on 17 years. It's one of those things that only the Holy Spirit has been working through many of us and within our parish to put all the right pieces in the right place, and all we had to do was put it together. We started with Alpha in English, and prior to that, we've had the visit from Deacon Pollo and the small group discipleship group concept, which out of all the groups that were put together after that mission or that talk that he gave for a couple of days, there was only one group of Hispanics that maintained the format of meeting every week for 3 years. So, and it was 5 of us. Our parish has about 4,700 households, and about 1,200 of those are Hispanic. So we have 2 masses in Spanish. And it was kind of, it was sad to me that only, 5 of us hung out together in a discipleship group. A lot of effort was put into it. And after the 3rd Alpha in English, those 5 people that started the discipleship group and continued, we decided, let's do one in Spanish. And because we were all bilingual, we had already been through 3 alphas, the first one, and the pilot, and then working as a team member and table leaders. We just went for it, and we started the first alpha in Spanish about a year ago. And so far we've done, we started the 4th alpha in Spanish this past Friday.
Wow, Hector, thank you. So you're telling us that in the last year you've run 3 alpha in Spanish?
Yes, ma'am. 3 alphas in Spanish.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what's that?
It's nonstop.
Yeah, I was going to say, now that's a best practice, right? Is the momentum. You get started. Tell us about that first one. How many people came to that?
Well, the first one was, I want to say that we had about 40 people registered, and they, we had a team, a very limited team, because there were only maybe about 10 or 12 of us that were bilinguals that went through the English ones. So we sort of didn't advertise it a lot because we were, with 1,200 Hispanics, and the word travels really, really fast. So, but it worked out great, and we had enough people, and we on the second one we probably got about 70 come in, and the third one, this one just finished. It was about 40 because we did it right in the middle of the summer, and this one that started Friday, we had 57 people.
Glory. That's amazing, Hector. I love it that, it was down in the summer, 40 people. Some of us on the call are just salivating at that. That's an incredible number for summer, as you know, right? Things do take a dip. So what I'm hearing, Hector, is half you guys followed was some English for a couple years, and then let's try it in Spanish, but we're going to really pilot in Spanish. So we're not going to try to go big right away because you need to build your team, of course. And that was one of the questions folks posed, is how do you find people? So you had a little remnant from that other program, so very interesting. And then the English Alpha fed into the Spanish. Okay.
Yeah, that's how we did it.
Very good.
Actually, the first 3 alphas, the first 2 alphas, we did it, and what we did was it was over on Friday nights. Just picking up the day was kind of challenging because the Hispanics, we have a lot of kids. So we didn't want to do it during the week because they have to go to school the next day. So we picked Friday. And Friday, the Anglo Alpha was also going on Friday night. So we said, well, everybody likes to eat, so we'll just have a meal with the English and Hispanics at the same time.
Great.
So we all gathered for the meal, and then we separated to different rooms to watch the videos, and then we all came back for the group discussion in separate groups.
Oh, interesting. So there is the integration again. We're in the same big room, but in our small group tables, speaking in our native tongue. Wow. And I'm guessing the kids too, all the kids integrated for the childcare?
Yeah, because The one common thing and the misconception with the Hispanics is that because the parents speak Spanish, the kids like Spanish. They all speak English because they go to school. So we put them all together. So they do just fine. So we only have one shot here for the Hispanics and the Americans, and they do just. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you guys have been very intentional about when can we integrate, we will integrate, is what I'm hearing. So this has been something you've been focusing on. Thank you, Hector. So talk to us about how now a year into this already, are you seeing impact on the larger parish regarding just the Anglo, as you say, and Spanish communities? Has there been any impact?
Yes, we're seeing a lot of integration, and there is a sense of those that have been through Alpha. They actually, I have pushed very hard to get the next Alpha ran by leaders and host teams from the previous Alpha. So that we're constantly developing leadership. And in doing so, after the third Alpha, well, I ended up with a pile of maybe 5 or 6 good leaders that I didn't really particularly wanted to get stuck in Alpha. So one of them is going to start running the youth Alpha for the Americans now. This just coming next week. And the other ones are just going out back to the ministries and then doing the Lord's work, but from ministry work, not necessarily from Alpha. So and they integrate with the rest of the ministries.
Right. Yeah, Hector, thank you for pointing that out. We always encourage folks that if you're going to come and serve in leadership with an Alpha, that it be for a season, for the sake of other ministries. So we're going to constantly push you out. It's another beautiful part of Alpha is the leadership development pipeline tool that it is just naturally built in. We will fail if we're not developing our leaders. So we must have leaders, but at the same time, we need them to go out and do other things, in part also to free up a spot for those next graduates who now we want to develop them and so on. So you guys you're living the dream. You're already doing it. So that's wonderful, Hector. Talk to us about how Spanish friendly the tool really is. Now there's some dubbing going on, and I know some of our listeners are, they're very, very clever as they're looking at different tools out there. There's not a ton of stuff out there. So, really, let's hear your critical eye, Hector. How well has Alpha pulled this off?
I'm going to tell you something. That was one of my biggest concerns because I grew up in Puerto Rico, and we were growing up. All the movies and everything were in English, and you have to spend too much time reading the captions. Oh my Lord! Yeah. So I did not want to even get started until the videos were out dubbed. And when that happened, I started with the classic series. That was a year and a half ago with Nikki Gumbel. And I thought they did an outstanding job. It was unbelievable. Even the inferences and the accent, everything was like unbelievable. I said, "Oh, we got to do this," and it was well accepted. When the new video, the new series, which is what we're seeing now, that was even better. So it is very. We have about 17 Latin and Hispanic nationalities in our parish. So we all sometimes. I'm from Puerto Rico, so I'm Americanized, But when we talk to the people that speak the real Spanish, they love it. They just love it because they understand every single thing, and it's actualized today. So yeah. That should be the least of the worries because it flows really, really nice into our language. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Hector. So I appreciate all that you're sharing. I just want to say, friends, for the record that, we didn't set Hector up to tell us this stuff. This is coming from his heart. He's the one living it, and we are just so thrilled. Hector, I have a feeling people are going to have questions and would love to be able to connect them with you if you're available to help kind of getting this thing out to other parishes. So thank you for nodding your head to that, friend. So Suzanne, I know you have been checking after the Q&A box. Friends, I want to remind you, if you have any questions that you would like to Whether it's been about our topic or just something else related to alpha, please put those in the Q&A or chat box. Hector is with us for the next roughly 40 minutes, and we will end on time. Everything we do at Alpha is within that Alpha DNA, so we begin on time and end on time. Suzanne, I wonder if, while we're waiting for any more questions, if you can bring us over to the website. I want to make sure folks know how to find our Alpha in Spanish. And if you haven't looked at it in a while, it's come a long way. This website, our friends in the back office here at Alpha International and Alpha USA have done incredible work to make this so much more accessible. So we want to make sure you know how to get to this. And as always, the linchpin web link is alphausa.org. If you go to alpha.org, that will get you into the international stuff, which is not bad, but we like the US site because it's got our stuff on it. So we want you to go to that. But alphausa.org, and again, these links will be on the follow-up email. And within that page, Suzanne is going to walk us through how to find Alpha en Español. And you do scroll down, and
actually,
there's a lot of good stuff here.
Actually, what you do is you go to Alpha Builder right up here, and you're going to register your Alpha. This is where you register your Alpha. And as you walk through it, so we're going to get started. I'm going to run a new Alpha. This is my own, for my own parish. We're going to run it for, let's say, anyone. We're going to do videos. We want Catholic. And the reason you choose Catholic is simply because we can give you a lot more information, some resources that you wouldn't have otherwise if you're choosing Catholic, if you don't choose Catholic. So you choose Catholic, and here's the main target right here. So this is where you choose whether you want to run it in English or Spanish. So when you choose Spanish, now Hector, you're gonna have to take over because I'll be lost from here. Then this is where you get all the Spanish. So Hector, you're on.
I'm on. Yes. And you create that, you select the series, you know, if you're going to do the youth series or the alphas, the film, which is what I'm using right now,
right
or the
here.
classical one, which is with Alpha, with Nikki Gumbo. And when you open it up, it will tell you, it will give you all the videos will be listed in there in order, and it will be in high, alta y baja definición, high and low density, not density.
So then when you then you would go through and then this is how you would register. Then you put all your information in here, and don't worry if it's not correct. If you get the wrong start date or something, you can always come back and modify it. It's not a big deal. And then also as you go through, when you get to the end, you'll be able to add all of your team members on there. So all of your hosts and helpers, you can add them on so that they can access this website and access all the training without you having to, you know, give them your own login and your own password. So they'll have their own login and password as well. So do you want to go, let's see if we can play some of the videos maybe.
Sure.
Thank you, Suzanne, walking us through that.
Let's try this again. Sorry, it took me back to the very beginning. Video, Catholic, Spanish. I think we might have to register it first before we do that. All right, let's just say Spanish.
So I believe, too, friends, if you just went to the homepage, alphausa.org, and went to the bottom where it says Espanol, that will lead you also to the Spanish pages that you could just explore. So if you're not certain you're ready to register an Alpha, feel free. And even as we've always said, and Suzanne just said, you know, if you just want to register something so you can unlock the material, that's fine too. You could just call it test or something. And she's just making up some stuff so we can show you a little bit. And that's fine.
Yes. Okay. So there we go. So this is where you would plan your sessions. This has all of your team trainings right here. You can watch those here. And then here is the first, I'll just play this for a little bit. So Laura, you tell me when you want to stop that. I don't know if we can be able to hear it or not.
Adiós, amor.
Adiós.
Tendremos un bebé. Vamos a tener el viaje de nuestras vidas. Esta aventura nos llevará por todo el mundo. Oiremos historias y hablaremos de ideas que nunca olvidarás. Podrías considerarnos tus guías. Vamos a señalar las cosas que valen la pena en el camino.
Alfa son 12 sesiones diseñadas para iniciar una conversación sobre las cuestiones más importantes. Queremos alentarte a explorar lo que crees y sientes sobre...
Thanks, Suzanne. If you want to pause us, that's awesome. So what Suzanne is showing is the Alpha Youth Series, and this is actually being updated in English, and that will be slowly getting rolled out in the next few weeks. And then the Spanish will be following. And Hector, you might know better than I about when the Spanish new Alpha Youth is coming out.
Well,
2018 for sure.
I don't know, but it didn't take much from when the new series was updated to get it in Spanish. It was almost like within weeks we had it. Yeah, so
that's fantastic.
Pretty fast, yeah.
Then
Thank you. And
I was just going to say on this site, then you can also promote, and this is where you would you can actually use all these promotional materials, and then this is again where you add your team members. Like I was saying, you can add all of your team members' emails, and they can be on this account as well. And then here's all of your all of the different materials for you to download. This is where you get your high definition downloads.
Yeah, so we're just a little excited, friends who are listening in. As you can tell, it's just amazing how far this has come. And Suzanne is on here all the time. As you know, she is your peer support person. If you could take us back, Suzanne, to alphausa.org, and let's just see what happens when we just click on the Espanol at the bottom. Just so you guys know, if you're just trying to explore how far you can get, that is always the question. It will have you at least create a login. But you unlock a whole lot more, as you know, if you actually register a course.
Yeah, so you'd go all the way to the bottom here, and then here are several different links. Again, here's the Catholic link, which you might want to go to as well. Some of our endorsements, and then here's the Spanish. I've actually never done this, so we'll see. So these are.
So it's just kind of probably.
Yeah, these are stories. These are endorsements in Spanish, so testimonies in Spanish.
If you want to click on continue and let's see what happens, or let's contact. I can read that much. Okay, and then it really basically says, do you want to organize Alpha Builders, what that is. Yeah, let's see what more says. We're learning some Spanish, Hector. This is really awesome. All right.
Yeah, so this. So it's pretty much everything there that you would want in.
Yeah, when you do the one in the right, Aprende Más, will take you to Latin America Alpha.
This one right here?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you have like what you would have when you go to Alpha USA, but everything.
Right. Just everything is in Spanish, yeah.
So that's very nice.
Oh, that's Latin America.
Yeah, to know that's available. Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect.
Very good. Thanks, you guys, for indulging us that. So we had a question.
Yeah, Hector, can you talk a little bit about training, your training? How do you train your team?
Well, our training, it's basically, I use the format that is on the website pretty much. And once our alpha is through, because we've run them so quickly, one after the other, we have maybe about 5 to 6 weeks between them. So from the time that we are like on the week, after the weekend away, we start asking the leaders from the tables to identify people that are potential leaders and the potential team members. And the last night, that last video is amazing, the one that, how about the church? Mm-hmm. So the people they see that, okay, it's their turn now to help out so we can keep the evangelization going. And I use that. And then about 2 weeks later after Alpha, they all want to get together again because they do become used to each other and friends and everything. And that we have something, I call it Y Después de Alpha Que, which is like sort of like a mini Connect group, but it's not on the format of Connect group. Is after Alpha, what do we do? So we meet again and we sort of mimic an alpha session, but what we do is try to emphasize the importance of now is our job to go out and make disciples. So out of that, I've been fortunate, or we've been blessed, because it's not me, but we get about 17 or 18 guests that they just want to come back and help on the next alpha. So it just, everything falls into place. And then I have a meeting for the meal team. Amongst the Hispanic women, where they all want to beat each other cooking the best plate. So we all win. And so I don't have a problem with the meals. And then the rest of the people will do at least 2 small meetings on, training and being a table leader and things like that. Yeah. So far.
Fabulous. So Hector, when you do trainings, are they in Spanish?
Oh, yes.
And so you're separating them out? Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. Everything we do is in Spanish. Because even if they understand English, it's something that appeals to, and it brings that sense of belonging when you are in your own language. Even if you can understand English, it's a lot of us, it's easier for us to think in Spanish. So, because that's the way we grew up, and with different kinds of nationalities, the common denominator is our language. So when we do Spanish, the Mexican can talk to the one from Peru, from California. You know what? It's all the same. It's much easier in Spanish.
So Hector, is Alpha the main way that you've developed your leadership team from within the Spanish community?
Well, when you say you mean me, Hector Serrano, or the parish?
The parish. Or you, Hector Serrano, I don't care.
I have to think about that answer there. Yes, I'm part of the Pastoral Council, the Adult Evangelization Committee, the Divine Renovation team, and then in my free time I do Alpha. The main issue that we have 87 ministries in our parish, and about, I want to say, close to 7, let's say 14 of those are Hispanics. So when you start something like this, one of my biggest challenges were to try to convey that this is not a ministry, and neither is a program. All we're doing is trying to meet those that are seeking for more, even if they don't know what that is. Try to meet them where they are. So to try to get the ministries to cooperate and allow, or not allow, but be okay with those persons belonging to ministries to go into Alpha, it was a challenge. It's getting much better, but that's one of the things that we have to work with. Now, once I develop those leaders within Alpha, they can go back to the ministries, and the ministries are starting to see, like, whoa, that wasn't too bad. Now I have helpers that actually help. So I'm gaining ground on that, but it's only been a year now, or 2 years, right? So I got.
And how about branching out? Do you find that you're getting a lot of people outside of your parish?
Oh, yes.
Great.
Because a lot of Hispanics don't live in our area. I have on this Alpha, I have 2 couples that live about an hour away.
Wow.
So they pass by 5 or 6 different churches before they come to us. But because they all either work in the same type of environment, or they know each other, or they're all from, say, Guatemala. So all the Guatemalan people get together, and then they talk to each other. And it doesn't matter where they live, they bring the other ones to Alpha. So it's we actually have people that guests that they've gone to 3 different other parishes that don't offer Alpha, but they heard about us, and so they come to Alpha at our parish.
And then what about getting like non-Catholics or complete outsiders, non-churched people at all? Do you find that you're getting many of those?
Not many, but we're getting some. Yes. In Spanish, it's really, it's almost not even fair because we grow up Catholic. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so, but we've had some that they're not Catholic, and evangelical and stuff. And those, as long as the food is good, they come in.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. Great.
So those are awesome questions, Suzanne. So following that thread, Hector, thank you for your confession that you're actually getting some folks from other parishes. How is that playing out in the community? Is there some friction going on because of that?
No, I haven't heard any. No, I haven't heard any frictions because when they go to mass, they go back to their church, and eventually our thought, or 2 or 3 people that we started this and they're trying to get it to come together as a big plan of evangelization. It would be awesome if we can just go to their church and do an alpha over there and let them go.
Amen.
That's a whole idea. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So far, no. And because they know each other somehow, they just don't go to the same church because it's too far, So there's not an issue. Yeah.
So Hector, I have a question. When you sort out your groups and when you assign your groups, do you do them like you said? Like, do you put all the Guatemalans at one table, or do you kind of mix it up?
I mix it up. I basically ask for their ages, and obviously if they're couples, I try to keep them together, because eventually we're looking into maybe start alpha for couples later on, but not yet. I mean that's looking into the future. But
right. I
try to match the age-wise, because the dynamic when you have people from different nationalities, it's awesome. Because we have the same language, but we call things different way. And as an icebreaker, it's like you don't even have to figure out what the icebreaker is going to be. They take care of it by themselves. That's the big problem when we have this alpha together, the Americans and the Hispanics, is that we're too loud. So.
Okay, so here's a question. I know at our parish, everything that Hispanics do goes on forever and ever and ever. So do you actually start and end on time?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. We got to stick to our roots.
That's right. Okay.
We start at 6:30, and the older generation, they try to show up around 6:45. But for the most part, we start about 7:15.
Okay.
So our problem is that towards the end of the night, we try to wrap up because the new videos are shorter.
Yeah.
So that gives us more time to talk. And then nobody wants to stop talking. So the only issue is that if you have childcare, our childcare only goes to 9 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
So at 9 o'clock.
That's a curfew.
They just go out and get their kids and bring them to the table. So it's not still there until 9:30 or 9:45.
Oh, wow. That's great.
But that's no problem. It's Saturday. So the next day. So
that's awesome.
Maybe we can get a second plate too of food.
There you go.
I love that, Hector. I love how, thank you, Suzanne, for teeing that question up, how to remain faithful to your roots, but also there's some boundaries that are just kind of superimposed, and it just is what it is. And we'll take it into the parking lot maybe. So, Hector, you mentioned Divine Renovation Network, and I know your colleague Bob mentioned that from your parish last week. Could you tell us more about that, and this is how you see that blessing your parish?
Oh, well, Divine Renovation really changed all our view into evangelization. Father Mallon, we were, as part of being on the Adult Evangelization Committee, we were asked to read the book. So we read the Divine Renovation book, discussed it, and then Bob Canto said, well, we should probably go to the Divine Renovation, the DR16 that they had up in Alaska.
The conference, yeah.
The conference, yes. So that was a huge catalytic. I mean, when we came out of there, we were ready to do an alpha every weekend. It was unbelievable. Yeah. So that's the basis of truly understand the place of alpha in the discipleship journey. You have to present the charisma to the people that you're trying to reach. in it's up to them to accept it or not. But the way these videos presented, it's so up to today. I mean, I haven't had many issues with people just standing up and walking and going away. They just keep coming. They just keep coming.
Do you have a problem with people like stopping after the second week or the third week and just not coming back?
Well, in the Hispanic community, you have to allow for a certain amount of people, and not allow, but take it for what it is, because they normally, both of them work. Both the couples work, and they work long hours. It's not like a 9-to-5 work job. So it gets to a point that it gets really, really complicated. And for the most part, the wife stays and the husband, doesn't come, or vice versa. We've had a couple that is coming this year because they met. They had met before Alpha, but she was working too much. So they decided to get married. So he missed the last 4. So the very first one on list to take the next Alpha was him with his wife. He signed up and said, now I'm coming as a married man. Can I do it again? And say, yes, you may. But they are people that you just can't, they cannot commit to 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the nature.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, guys. So, Hector, you mentioned Divine Renovation and the conference you guys attend. So you read the book, Divine Renovation, Moving Our Parish from Maintenance to Mission. Suzanne will have a nice section on the follow-up email about that for you guys in the next 24 hours, and watch for it in your inbox. And so, yeah, it's a book. And so you guys read the book first, Hector, and you were really encouraged and excited, and you attended the conference. So, guys, this is a conference that we believe is happening every 2 years. It's in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. And it was worth the trip, I'm hearing Hector say. It was really a catalyst for you guys to just keep going. The next one is scheduled for June 2018. So if you want to put that in your planning calendar as possibly a family vacation. I know a lot of parishes took, a group. In New England, for example, not that far over the border, they took a whole lot of folks. And actually, Father James Mallon will be speaking in a number of venues throughout the United States. And he will be in New England in February. And actually, he'll be in Omaha, Nebraska in October. I think you're going to see more and more of that. He also is typically a speaker at the Amazing Parish Conference. And Suzanne will include a link about who those guys are. And the next one's scheduled for, as far as we know, in Dallas in April. To get to hear a little bit of Father Mallon there. But there's nothing like going to the source, going to the parish, St. Benedict in Nova Scotia. Hector, why? I mean, that's like a pilgrimage. Why would we bother going all the way up there? Tell us why it's worth it.
Well, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. But when we landed up there, the person that picks us up at the airport is the friendliest Uber driver that I've ever met in my life, and he was not a Uber driver. So he picks us up and we start talking to him. Actually, he starts talking to us as if he knew us forever. And it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. So we get there, and we get off the car, and later we found out he was a volunteer from the church. And then and there's all these people waiting for you. And they're talking to you like they've known you for all your life. And I'm like, I know I have no business in Canada, so I don't know any of these people. But they were so friendly. So the moment that we got in, we got all this warmth, and it was unbelievable. And then experiencing every time you stepped into any of their venues or any of their plenary sessions and everything, you couldn't help but the presence of the Holy Spirit was like right there. You couldn't even think about anything else but what was going on in there. It was fantastic. And they had over, I can't remember, but it had to have been over 600 volunteers from that church. Everywhere when you went to eat, because our facilities are not really big, you would have to go somewhere else. We have 4 or 5 people walking you to the bus, the right bus. You don't have, all you have to do is just let yourself go. It was,
Wow.
it was an amazing, amazing experience. And at there also, there were 650 participants, and there were people that we didn't know until like the second night that they were not even Catholics. There were people, evangelicals, and there were people from different churches in there that were just living the experience with all of us. It was really, really, yeah. If you have a chance, you must go. And I'm not getting paid for that one either.
Awesome, Hector. Thank you. And I think, did you also mention the Divine Renovation Network that your parish is part of as well?
That's correct. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little more what that is?
They decided, the leadership decided to join the network, and it is, I want to say it's supposed to be 14 of them. We're one of those, and then different cohorts, different groups of churches and groups of 4 or 5 or 6, and then they have webinars every week. They get the support of Father Mellon and Ron, and everything. They have coaching for the parish leader team, coaching for whoever you need, coaching for the parish council. The priest meets with Father Mellon on a regular basis. It's unbelievable, because it's not easy to transform that culture from maintenance to mission. And a lot of things that they went through in doing so, well, it helps to know that you can ask them, what did you do on this situation? Or how do you get out of this predicament? And it's a lot of help. It's a lot of help. Yeah.
That's great. That's very great.
Yeah, Hector, thank you for all that background. So again, friends, if you have any questions, please go ahead and put that in the Q&A or chat box. But Hector, what he's been speaking to is the Divine Renovation Book Network Conference. Our good friend, Father James Mallon, who has loved Alpha for many, many years. This is a big part of what he's been up to up there to the north in Canada where he's based. And a lot of the parishes and a lot of the parishes who are involved with Alpha have read this book. Several are involved in the Divine Renovation Network. And given the size of the U.S. compared to Canada, there might be even more parishes from the States than there are possibly from Canada. So it's pretty cool when we bump into yet another one. And we've spoken to your friends in Maryland as well as Texas, Hector. So I'm so glad that the Lord is bringing you guys together in that way. And so I love it that you're doing your work right where you are in South Carolina, but God is also connecting you with parishes around the country and actually up to the north and far part of North America. So friends, what I'd like to do, again, if you have questions, put them in the box. Several of the questions, guys, from the registration were very basic about how to get started with Alpha. So you've already heard Hector speak to that. The Parish Evangelization Council looked at it. But often what happens, guys, is there's one person in the parish who is interested. Hector, what would you suggest if some church down the street came to you and said, hey, I know you guys are really a big parish and you guys looks like you have it all figured out, right? It always looks good from the outside. What would you recommend to somebody if they are just one person in their parish, but just has this burning heart for the lost? How do they even think about trying on something like this?
Well, that's something that I was approached with a question the other day because we didn't have enough at the beginning. You know, the Hispanics, they leave everything to the last minute, so nobody registered until the night before. But anyway, what happens if we always have is like 5 people show up? You know, like, we're going to do this? Well, I reminded them that, you know, when the shepherd lost that one sheep, he left the 99 and went to get that one. So, and he was so happy to get just that one. So you don't know if that one person is the one that's going to catapult the whole program in your parish. So it's not about numbers, it's about souls. And in that one person, what I would suggest is like he can seek out, because there's so much information in your website and through the community, and find a way that at least you can do an alpha with one table. And you know, you need the table leader, the host, and if you don't have enough people to justify making a meal, then just buy something at the local Mexican restaurant. You know, I mean, it doesn't have to be something big, but you'll be surprised how much it grows as the word goes around. That people see that, for instance, I was going to this. I've been here for 17 years. So the first 13 years in this church, I go in, Mass is over, I go home. And I keep seeing these kids going from little kids all the way up to college, and they graduate. And I didn't even know these people. You know, I know they came in every Sunday, and when they weren't there, I missed them, but I didn't go as far as asking their names. After Alpha, and you start seeing people now waiting after the Mass. They're outside, they're talking to each other, they're asking about their families. I have most of my Alpha alumni on an app. Somebody needs prayer because something's going on in their lives. They'll send a message, and we all pray for them. It's something that is worth, and it all starts with one or two. You don't have to go big. So the resources are there. Just pray to the Holy Spirit that guides you, and He will put people in front of you to make it happen.
Hector, have you ever done any home alphas?
No, but two of the leaders of the Alpha that have now, they took their kids through Alpha last year at her house.
Great. Okay.
Now those three kids are joining in on the effort that's going on in our church to get those Hispanic kids that don't quite speak a lot of English, so they having a hard time mixing with the English edge teams and all that stuff. Well, they are going to that group just to bring that whatever's missing in there.
Great, that's awesome.
Because if we don't, I wanted to mention, I don't know how time. Oh, we got time.
You got time.
This last July, a group of us went to the Bishop's Convocation for Hispanic Leaders in Orlando, and the landscape of the Hispanic community, of the Catholic Church in the United States, it was unbelievable. When it was a Dr. Ospino, he presented these numbers, and it was just amazing to me, because I know there's a lot of Hispanics. But if you don't address those issues with the youth, Hispanic youth, by the way, they all speak English, so it doesn't have to be in Spanish. We will be out of people pretty soon. It's they brought some figures that were just I really took me aback. The 40% of the Catholics in the United States are Hispanic.
Wow.
So it's and out of 40%, every 30 seconds a Hispanic turns 18 years old. So I mean, there's a lot of millennials that we need to address, and something needs to be done.
Hector, thank you for pointing that out. We will include a link on our emailed friends to access some of that data, because we've been talking about that within Alpha as well, and that's why it's just so vital for us as leaders to realize that. And if you, friends, are listening in and you have this heart for the Hispanic community, we can help equip you with data that might help to further persuade your leadership, along with the Holy Spirit. I mean, let's do all that we can, and obviously leave the results up to Him. And Hector, I so appreciate what you were saying earlier. Even if you're one person that feels this heart for the lost, if you will, or the unconverted, you could start small. You can get some food, invite some people, and we often say that, right? Just have something in your home, possibly for neighbors. I personally had something in my home and had neighbors come who never would have set foot in that at church, but they came here because they love us. And so that's how my husband came back to the Lord, was through Alpha in the living room. So we're big proponents for any size, whatever size the Lord is calling you to do. Friends, kind of our last ditch offer, if you want to pose any questions, please do that. And so I think the general questions are, how do I even get started? So there's another webinar that we do every month called the Explore Alpha webinar, and that is again coming up the second Thursday of the month at noon Eastern. So Suzanne will be sending you an email invitation to that in the next week. So when you receive it, go ahead and register for that webinar. Again, whether you can make it or not actually live on the call, you will get a copy of the follow-up that has a recording. So the Explore Alpha webinar really takes you through the basics about what is this thing called Alpha, how do I even get started, what is this website, what are the topics on the videos. But you're welcome to look at that. And Suzanne, if you just want to take us back to alphausa.org while I'm speaking to some of these basics, so that if there's anybody who's listening in right now, can just see that real general stuff of, yeah, and so it's in both English and Spanish. But we want to make sure that this is what we say on every webinar, we don't want you to even consider running Alpha unless you have really discerned this from the Lord and sense He's calling you to do that. And like Hector shared, start small. Start with a pilot. Don't go full hog, because frankly, you don't know if this is really what God does want for you until you might give it a go once you've discerned, okay, let's at least try it. So looking at all the materials, the training, there are some training events that happen around the country, but often it's not enough and it's not right where you are. So we have a fabulous training center online that has all the basic tools to get you started. Suzanne is showing you where the training events are posted around the country. Some of these are Catholic specific, offered by the diocese, for example. We got our friends up in Syracuse. We'll give a plug for them. If you want to travel to Syracuse, go see our friends there. We'd love to have you. We have things we call Run Alpha training, but we also have something called Explore Alpha. There are some of those that happen around the country. Those are about an hour and a half. And that is just to kind of do what we do on our Explore webinars, which is just get a little taste of what Alpha is like. So be sure to check out the events page on our website. That little calendar up in the corner in red is how you access this. But there is also the Alpha Training Center that has these short videos of basics that we would encourage you to review on your own. And then also you would run through that with your team. And you'd watch the video and then talk about it. And so, okay, these are the best practices. This is the recipe, how you run Alpha. Now, how are we going to do that here? And ideally, as close as possible to the recipe that you can. So again, if you're interested in just exploring Alpha, sign up for our next upcoming webinar when you get the email. Also, you could go to our website to register for that, and Suzanne will take us through that. But also, if you're just saying, Laura, I can't wait a couple weeks, I want this now, well, fabulous. So email us back, and we will send you the follow-up email from the last Explore Alpha webinar that we just did. Thank you. These are so excited. We love Father Consuelo Mesa from the Papal Household. We're just tickled that he is just such a beautiful and outspoken man. So here you can see how to sign up for the Explore or the Alpha Administrator Forum. So it's alphausa.org and it's /Catholic. So go there, check this out. Endorsements, again, as we were talking with Hector a few minutes ago, if you are a parishioner, maybe not in a leadership role, but really feeling like, I think we should look at this thing. These endorsements could be a real blessing to you. Bishops, pastors, guests, it's all right here. We haven't talked about cost, so it's all free. The materials are all free. If you choose to buy it in printed form, you're welcome to do that. You can go to our store. Suzanne will pop us there just so you have access to that. But you can download everything, and you can have really all that costs money then is the food. Hector, how do you guys deal with the food? Because that's going to be a lot of money. How do you do it, your parish?
Yes, well, fortunately, we fall under the same budget for the Alpha English and Alpha Youth and Alpha, so we have one budget. But what we tried this time, we decided, the people that are running, I have two of my Alpha alumni running the Alpha that is going on right now. So they decided to go ahead. The first meal is got to be all out, okay? Because that's what people are going to come in, and you're not going to give them hot dogs or, so that has to be all out, and there's a cost on that. After the second and third meal, then we were asking for a donation,
Okay.
If they had it. If they don't have it, well, that's fine. But most of the time, we get donations and help cover for the meals. Now, what they want to do this time, and I think is a great idea, is in our part of being Hispanic is that we don't like to show up anywhere without food. So they're gonna ask them if they want to each table bring something after like every 3 sessions. And that's Alpha we did, and the last night we did like a potluck, and I think there's still left over, and that was like 4 months ago. I mean, it was unbelievable. The amount of food that was there was all good, and people were just dropping in, and from the American side, I say, "Oh, we're gonna go to Alpha and Spanish last night." So it was talk about unity. So yeah. So there are all sorts of things, but for the most part, if you ask for a donation, small as it would be, it covers for the first night. We do really all out, but the rest of the nights really, I mean, rice and beans and stuff that everybody likes. You know, it doesn't cost that much. Yeah.
That's great.
Okay.
And people really want to bring stuff in. So, well, just bring a dessert. So, okay, well, now we got dessert.
Laura,
Yeah.
here's one last question. Someone wants to know, are you printing the Spanish participant booklet from a download, or are you just not using it at all, or are you buying the booklet?
No, we're printing it. It's in PDF. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, Hector, I love how, you know, we've got the Alpha recipe, but in your context with the Spanish speaking community, it would be odd to not allow them to bring some food. So we want to honor that. So it's that tricky walk. And I love that the Anglos are seeing that. That's just so, again, that way that we're connecting with one another and, you know, teaching each other something. Suzanne's been walking us through. She showed you the Alpha store. Again, these kind of links you find at the bottom of the page. Suzanne, if you could also pop us over to the Alpha print shop. Hector, do you guys use any of this stuff? Do you get postcards printed or banners, any of that sort of thing?
I did one time. We got the little cards, and were kind of nice. But the last 2, it's just been word of mouth. Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah.
that's an interesting point. So maybe to get things started, some of these postcards, they are also available in Spanish. Those could possibly be helpful to get people feeling comfortable, but then it kind of just builds up and the momentum takes it off. So just good to know that stuff is there. Any parting comments, Hector, before we end?
I tell you, it is such a fulfilling it is a lot of work, but everybody involved at the end of the night, and most likely right after the first night, you're going to have testimony from people that, because we're very open and we like to talk a lot. So it is so fulfilling that people just they can't wait until the next Friday. And it really fills your soul, and it keeps you going, because there are a lot of obstacles and a lot of things, like anything you're trying to do. The closer you try to get to God, the more influence the devil try to put in your way. You know? Yeah. But it is so much of the good stuff that you see every Friday night that is all worth it. It's all worth it.
Beautiful. Hector, thank you so much for being our guest today and telling us. I've learned a lot, and I'm just so grateful. Again, friends, watch for the follow-up emails. Suzanne, wonderful job getting us through the website. And we thank the Lord for keeping the technology going and this beautiful blessing. So, Lord, we do. Friends, we bless you all. Please feel free to connect with us and continue discerning the Lord's call for you.